Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your weekly recap show of the college football action from yesterday and Friday because it was Thanksgiving week. T-Pike.
Yeah. This is Brett, Metal Dad and Thor. Let's just get started with the week that was. We'll give it a go with number 2, Notre Dame against number 19 that Mr. Milan here has been pretty high on. North Carolina all season long. Notre Dame wins 31-17. And anything you want to add to that?
First quarter was awesome, 14-14. Both teams moving the football at will. I thought it was going to be an awesome game. I was getting really excited, and then it kind of turned into a snooze fest. One thing I will say is I've been down on Notre Dame. We both have all season. Not really respecting them much. Whatever ranking they had, we didn't think that they were as good as the ranking. And they proved me wrong Friday against North Carolina. Sam Howell's a good quarterback. North Carolina's a great offensive team, and we know that their weakness is defense. Their defense played well, but Notre Dame's defense killed Howell. That dude was getting pressured and sacked all the time. They couldn't do anything. After the first quarter, they couldn't do anything. So I got to give a lot of credit to Notre Dame. And Book looked great.
23-33, 279 and a touchdown.
Yeah, and they just the defensive line for Notre Dame came to play, and they were the story of the ball game in my opinion. So good for them. They've got a rematch against Clemson, and Clemson's gonna be pissed off. So we'll see what happens there. But that was a good game, a fun game to watch the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And that's normally the end of the season for most of these programs.
Yeah.
The way the season started, a lot of these schools are just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Iowa State, Texas. Iowa State in a squeaker. Number 13 defeats number 17, Texas. Who's going to win the Big 12?
Yeah, Iowa State's got, I think it was like a 98% chance of going to the Big 12 championship game. Oklahoma's second at like 80%. This game was not super exciting. I watched every single snap of this game. Kind of thought Texas was going to take it, after the first quarter. Texas was looking good. Texas was looking good for most of the game as far as consistency. Weren't letting Iowa State have the explosive plays. Breece Hall looked pretty good. Purdy looked okay. Ellinger looked okay. It was just kind of like back and forth, a lot of punts. But Iowa State, took them in the fourth quarter. Scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to win, and Tom Herman looked dejected after that game. So did the players. Ellinger just looked, and he had some comments after the game. Ellinger did, and they weren't too. They didn't really paint Herman in a great light. I have heard that it's already done. He's out, but it's after the season. And apparently, for this coming up week, a bunch of players from Texas have already decided they were going to opt out. So that news will be coming this week. So it sucks for them. Texas is a good program, and they just can't get the ship, going in the right direction. So
you think Urban Meyer might be going to Texas?
I don't know. I don't know if Urban Meyer's ever going to coach again. If that, alleged health issues. We know that the heart problem in Florida was bullshit. He was just afraid of Nick Saban. I don't know what's going to happen with Urban Meyer. I don't know what's going to happen with Texas, but I just will say that college football is a lot more fun when Texas is pretty good.
I would agree with that. Oregon goes down to Oregon State, 41-38. Jefferson erupts for 226 yards, 2 TDs. I didn't see this game.
I watched the game. Jefferson's good. I never even heard of this dude before I started watching the game. And he just was breaking off long run after long run. Looked really good. Oregon looked good. The quarterback shot, it was spotty at times. That guy I keep talking about, number 26. He's the scrawny. He's like Rudy. He's like the scrawniest little dude, but that guy is fast as shit. Dude just runs everywhere. I love him. He's my favorite player right now in college football. You couldn't see what was going on. All the fog. Now, apparently, when they would have the camera angle from the field level, it looked okay. But from when the camera angle up top, guys were throwing passes that the cameraman didn't know where it was going. So it was kind of a tough game to follow. Oregon, I will say Oregon State kind of got screwed at the end. The ref missed the blatant guy was in for a touchdown on second down. Third down, they got stuffed, but they missed a blatant offsides, and then quarterback gets hurt. They bring in the backup on 4th and goal. They run a sneak and they get the touchdown and win. Really exciting game, a lot of fun to watch. But down goes Oregon, and you pretty much got to say that along with Oregon going down, the Pac-12's playoff hopes are down the drain as well.
Spiraling down the drain. Iowa, number 24, defeats Nebraska. They're 4-2 on this young season. Of course, the games we've discussed so far have been the Friday games, which a lot of people didn't get to see or was doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah, this week. This game was, I didn't watch it. I was following along on Twitter, and honestly, I didn't feel like taking a nap, so I didn't really want to watch this game. I wanted to watch something more exciting.
All right, well, we're going to move right along. Number 9, Georgia defeats South Carolina. Georgia goes to 6-2, 45-16. James Cook looked great. South Carolina just don't have the horses right now to compete, really.
Yeah, and they have a lot of guys opt out, a lot of guys hurt, guys had COVID. Georgia looked real good running the football. They looked okay passing. It was kind of like a complete flip of the switch last week with the big passing game. This week was a huge rushing game. I think as a team they went for over 350 rushing. All the running backs looked good for Georgia. I watched this game. They brought in, I think, all 4 of them. And they all looked good running the football. All of them had over 7 yards rushing in the game. Looked good. Georgia looked okay defensively. I think they were a little shaky in the second quarter. South Carolina had 10 points in the second quarter. There was a trick play that the Georgia defensive lineman was like in the backfield and drilled the running back, but right after he pitched it back to the QB for like the flea flicker. Trick play, got him a touchdown. And then they had a sort of a long drive where they got a field goal, then they missed a field goal. Georgia defense second quarter didn't do very well, and then they kind of clamped down second half. That last score was, the third string was in the game. But Georgia looked pretty good. But we talked about Mike Bobo last week.
Right.
Great coach, great recruiter. I just feel bad for the dude. He's sitting there before the game. The camera's on him before the game. He's clapping, hyping him up, getting the guys ready, fired up the play. I just feel bad for him. He's not even in the conversation for South Carolina. They've got some talented players that are hurt. Leggett was out. Shy Smith, I think, was out. And then Fannin was out. They got a really good running back. They got another running back that's coming off a knee injury. That's a 5-star running back. Bobo needs a chance. Whether it's going to be at South Carolina or at another school, that guy deserves a second chance to be head coach.
So we're going to end up at Vandy.
Heck, it's possible. Poor bastard Vandy. But, Derek Mason got fired today.
Unfortunately.
We'll talk about that later.
Alabama annihilates Auburn. They're 8-0 in this young season, 42-13. Mac Jones passed for 302, 5 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. Gus is still going to be there next season. Probably more of the same.
This game went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I was kind of thinking right when it started, I was like, I bet Auburn has a few chances this game that they miss. And what happens? Seth Williams, wide open for a touchdown, drops the football. Alabama looks awesome. Defensively, they look really good. Offensively, it's like they're not even trying. They hand the ball to Najee Harris. He breaks through the line for like a 30-yard run. Doesn't even seem like he's running that hard. The first touchdown, that long one to Devonta Smith, at first I thought was a highlight from another game. And I was like, how does he get that open? It was like, it's like they're not even trying. It's like Mac Jones is like, I was going to throw the most perfect spiral the world has ever seen right to my guy, touchdown. They don't even look like they're trying hard, and they're killing everybody.
You want to change to be a Bama fan now?
No, it's not going to happen. They just look good. They're kind of like, why can't my team play this way?
Clemson, Pittsburgh. Number 3, Clemson beats Pittsburgh. Ho-hum, 52-17, 31 points in the first quarter.
After they scored 3 scores, I was like, I'm not watching the rest of this game, but how it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, one of these days maybe Pitt can actually mount up a defense against Clemson, but this ain't going to be the season for that. So, moving right along, Texas A&M defeats LSU. They're 6-1 in the season, number 5 in the country, 20-7. Isaiah Spiller, he went to 27 carries for 141 and a touchdown. Anything you want to add to that?
Apparently, I didn't watch a lot of this game. Apparently, Mond looked terrible. He was making a lot of bad decisions. You can see the leading passer was, fairly for LSU, 9 of 25 for $118 and 2 picks. That's the leading passer of the game. Didn't watch a lot of it. Caught some of the highlight shows this morning, and they basically said that Mond looked really inconsistent. But you know what? Just like every year, you just survive in advance. Even the top teams, number 5, Texas A&M, You're going to have games like this. Just survive in advance, and that's what they did. They're 6-1.
6-1.
Going into a couple of easy games.
Still alive for a lot of things.
Still alive for the playoffs. They're not going to the SEC championship, but they're still alive for the playoffs because Ohio State is having some COVID issues. We'll talk about that later. So they're still alive.
Yeah, speaking of 10 teams still alive, Florida, 6th in the country, 7-1, 34-10 against Kentucky. Had a friend who was actually at the game, got to get the free food and the free booze at
nice.
The club level.
Nice.
But yeah, that's another dominating performance by Florida. Ho hum.
Yep. The big story of this game was the huge sideline fight between Mullen and Grantham, which is funny because it's the third in Grantham. I think the entire SEC fan base knows third in Grantham now. But Kentucky hung with them first half, and then Kyle Pitts was like, all right, screw this crap. I'm just going to just dominate everybody.
That's right.
And he basically did. So good for Florida. They're 7-1. They've already they haven't locked up the East. They got to play, I think, LSU and Tennessee. All you got to do is win one of those games, and you've locked the East up. So they're going to be basically they're going to be the sacrificial lamb for Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Looks that way. Northwestern loses. They're now 5-1 to Michigan State. Mel Tucker gets it done. Yeah.
Northwestern going down. Couldn't be happier.
That's right.
We talked about it at length last week. I didn't think Northwestern was even remotely in the ballpark of being the 8th best team in the country. Like we said, when your 3 linebackers are described as gritty, basically that says to me that they're not as talented. So they go down to Michigan State, and Michigan State is not a good football team, but neither is Northwestern. The Big Ten is a joke, really, and I'm not trying to be an asshole with that. Maryland, Indiana is the next game we're going to talk about. Indiana now has a chance to be the Big Ten East representative for the Big Ten Championship because Ohio State has COVID problems. Ryan Day's got COVID. I got a buddy that is in the equipment room at Ohio State, and they're not saying who has it, but apparently 21 players have COVID, or due to contract tracing have COVID. The Big Ten wanted to be, the elitists that they are, and say early August we're not going to play, assuming everyone else is going to follow suit, and they didn't. They ended up looking stupid. They have egg on their face. They say, okay, we're going to play. They started way too late. They didn't put in any off weeks in the schedule to offset situations like this where the other conferences did that played. SEC, ACC, Big 12, and then some of the smaller Group of 5 conferences did the same thing. They've built in bye weeks to combat this. They put an extra week from when the season ends, there's that extra weekend before the conference championship game, so they can even more make-up games. Some teams in the SEC that are out of the race are playing on SEC Championship Saturday. Big Ten didn't do that. The rule was 6 games or more, and you can go to the conference championship game. Ohio State right now, if they don't miss any of the games, they could play a maximum of 7 games. Number one, that shouldn't be enough to get you to the playoffs. That's another discussion. There's rumors they're not going to be able to play against Michigan State next week, and then they're out. So then you're going to have probably Northwestern versus Indiana. I don't know who else. I don't pay attention.
Wisconsin?
Well, they've already missed a bunch of games. They're already ineligible.
So basically, what's going to probably end up happening is some way, somehow, they're going to try to move everything back. I think that's what they're going to try to do.
If Ohio State can't play, because they'll cater to whatever Ohio State wants, because they know
they got to get a Big 12.
Yeah, they're the bell cow.
In.
You've got to get at least a Big 10 team or a Big 12 team in. Yeah. I don't think it's doable. I really don't, and I don't feel sorry for them. Again, I think Ohio State's a playoff contending team. Yeah. I'm not knocking them. This is your conference commissioner's fault, and I think the rest of the conference is ridiculous. Minnesota, Wisconsin, that's postponed or canceled. Wisconsin's out. Yeah. Indiana lost to Ohio State by 1 score, so they would represent the East most likely. Mm-hmm. Penix went down with an injury. How bad is it? I don't know, but they didn't look very good against Maryland. 27-10, they beat Maryland. They had to come back to do it. No, they didn't. Shows how much I know. Yeah, they did. They had to come back to win that game. But Penix went out with a high ankle sprain. So who knows how long that guy's going to be out. And Penix, is a pretty damn good quarterback for him. Fryfogle is an elite wide receiver. Other than that, I'm not seeing a ton of elite offensive talent in the Big Ten. Michigan got beat by Penn State yesterday. Penn State was, what, 0-6, 0-5 or something like that?
Yeah.
And Penn State looked pretty darn good. Michigan, for all their struggles, looked like a more complete team throughout the season. They looked like a hot, steaming pile of garbage yesterday. They couldn't do anything right. And then McNamara goes down with an injury. Milton comes in and he just screws the pooch. And that dude can't hit open wide receiver on a curl route. Bring McNamara back in. It's a shit show. The entire conference is a shit show. And I'm not blaming any of the damn teams.
No.
I know that everybody knows my thoughts on the Big Ten. There's not a whole lot of elite offensive skill there. This is the damn conference commissioner's fault. He should have started the damn season earlier and we wouldn't have this issue. So I hope the Big Ten gets left out. I hope Ohio State can't play. Again, not trying to dog on Ohio State. The conference deserves it for the shit show they've been.
They should be punished for waiting so long to get the season.
Exactly. It's not anybody else's fault. I heard people say, well, the other conference should stop playing and let the Big Ten catch up.
No.
Piss on that.
Well, okay, so they say you got Michigan, the Mississippi State's the world. They're playing with 46 or 47 scholarship athletes right now, and they're putting on a performance every weekend on the field right now.
They came to Georgia with 49 scholarship players last week and played the best game of their season. Egg Bowl yesterday, which was entertaining as hell, by the way. They played with 46 of them. So they were couple short scholarship players, and that was an entertaining game. They're making it happen. You got a bunch of opt-outs on teams who aren't in the race anymore. LSU lost their top wide receiver. He opted out. Half the guys on Texas are opting out. Pittman in Minnesota opted out for the second time. Guys in Mississippi State, the guys who haven't opted out, they're fighting like hell. Vanderbilt fired Derek Mason today after making history, having the first female player to ever play Division I college football.
Right.
Their players are playing tough. They're not quitting. They're fighting. They got the shit kicked out of them, 41-0 yesterday, but they're fighting. They played Florida really, really tough last week. They're fighting, but yet they fired a coach today.
Well, you know, even in a normal season, Vanderbilt has a struggle keeping up with teams, but they play well against teams. I just think to put everything on top of everything this season, being down the talented guys that they do have, has got to be hurting them.
Normally, in a 12-game season, it's a 9-game conference schedule. They get 3 cupcakes. You win 3 games, you're halfway to bowl eligibility. It didn't really help that the crossover SEC West teams they had to play were pretty good. They had to play Alabama. So that kind of hurts them a little bit.
Right.
Usually they can knock off somebody in the East, like a Mizzou or a Kentucky,
They catch
South Carolina, Tennessee. They catch somebody slipping.
About once a decade, they get Georgia.
Yeah, they've beaten everybody but Florida, I think, at some point in the last decade. It's just tough for them.
Yeah.
But they're doing it. And I know the Big Ten's trying. And nobody wants to cancel their games. The players, the coaches, nobody wants to. But they should not have pulled that stupid shit move in August and they said they weren't going to play. So they kind of deserve everything that's coming to them. That's just my opinion. I'm sure people are going to bitch and moan in the comments and say, oh, you're an SEC homer. I'm not. I'm following the 3 conferences that decided to play on time.
Right.
And their teams have already played 10 games. Like Syracuse already has 10 games in.
So does Clemson, don't they? Yeah. I mean,
No, because Florida State, I don't think Syracuse has had a game canceled.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's still, if you're a team right now and you don't have anybody to play, there's BYU is just waiting to win.
Yeah, they're waiting to play a game this week. I watched the Washington-Utah game, which Washington was maybe going to try to get BYU, but Washington-Utah was a really good game. Washington came back and won there with under a minute left, scored a touchdown. That was a fun game. We got a lot of good college football so far this season. We got a lot of good college football each week. You're going to see games canceled and postponed, but just enjoy what you got.
Well, we got most of the season in. I mean, we don't like much, and we're going to be playing the SEC title games, Big 12 title games,
ACC title games.
We're getting close to the end.
Look right here, Kansas State. They've played 9 games. Baylor's played 7 because Baylor had some COVID issues earlier in the year. They're going to catch up with some of those postponed games being made up. Again, I'm not trying to shit on the Big Ten. Well, I guess I am because I think it's not the best. I don't think there hasn't ever been a time where I thought was in the top 2 best conferences. I always thought Clemson is kind of new, recent success. I always thought the Big 12 in the SEC were the two most competitive conferences, just because of the type of offense the Big 12 can put out there. I never, the Big 10 was always the 3 yards in the cloud of dust conference, and then Ohio State changed the game. Ohio State's been good for decades, but they just changed the games, in my opinion, with the wide open offense fairly recently. The rest of the league hasn't caught up, and they're trying to do it with the offenses they're running. They just don't have the talent to get it done, and that the product they're putting out there is an inferior product, and not wanting it to happen. But because I hate talking negatively, but I kind of think they deserve not to get in.
Right. Well, hopefully, 2 or 3 weeks from now, everybody is having no more COVID issues, and the season can wrap up, and we can start playing these conference title games, and we can figure out who's playing who in these bowl games. Mm-hmm. But then again, the world could change in 2 or 3 weeks. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, the bowl projections now are basically every week they're similar, like not set so, but the way things are going, the same bowls, same teams each week, the projections. I'm wondering what's going to change. You get 1 or 2 teams having COVID issues. I don't think any of this is going to change until we go into next season. But you got to build in those bye weeks for this kind of crap.
Right.
So
I have this gut feeling since it's 2020, one of these non-conference or Cincinnati's, BYU's are going to slip into this dance, because there's a lot of teams giving you a lot of reason to pause right now, like Ohio State not being able to play games. Somebody's going to have to lose between Florida and Alabama. Clemson, Notre Dame. Somebody's going to take that second loss. And somebody's not getting in the dance. They're going to let somebody else get a chance to get in the game. I
think A&M's got a really good chance of making the playoffs, but they can't have another game like last night.
Right.
I think, what were they? They're number 5, so they're just on the outside looking in.
Right.
One of those 4 teams is going to get knocked off because Clemson and Notre Dame got to play each other again.
2 of those 4 teams are going to get knocked off.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So A&M's got a shot. Cincinnati is behind them a couple of spots. BYU was 10th. I think BYU is screwed because their strength of schedule is killing them.
They're going to fool around and play somebody. Somebody's going to give them a shot.
I'm hoping, because I think they're better than Cincinnati. Cincinnati's best win was SMU, which was ranked in the top 25 when they beat them. Right. SMU, I think, lost yesterday. So their strength of schedule is going to take a hit. Cincinnati's is going to take a hit. I don't see Cincinnati getting in. I think BYU's got the best chance to get in.
But they need a little.
They need a lot of help. I just don't think Cincinnati's going to.
They didn't play that well. They won against Central Florida.
Central Florida, yeah.
The 2017 national title.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I would hate to see the playoff committee put in a team that didn't win the conference, like an A&M. I would hate to see them just decide, well, Ohio State's only played 6 games. Let's put them in anyway. We know that the Big Ten is weak. Ohio State would win every game they played. But playing 6 games isn't enough. When you have a team that's already played 10 and went through a 10-game conference on the schedule, they deserve to get in. I don't know. The whole thing is going to be wacky because Notre Dame and Clemson are going to play.
There's going to be chaos. Nobody's going to be happy. And then maybe next year or whenever the contract's up, we can add 8 teams into the playoff.
That'd be. That's my hope.
I think it's going there. I just think you need something like this year to really upset the apple cart so much that they just have to do it.
I know that there's a lot of people that don't want a playoff expansion, saying, well, whenever the number 8 team plays the number 2 team, it's a blowout. I was like, well, yeah, but it's feasible that a late season surge from like week 7 or 8 onward, a team can get a lot better. What if they've got early season loss to Alabama like A&M does? They just get better and better and better. They jump in the playoff as that 6, 7, or 8 seed. Who says they can't run the table?
You give a Cincinnati, a BYU, an opportunity to get into the games.
And then it's going to make it all that much harder for the top teams like a Clemson or Alabama. Instead of winning 1 game and you go to the national championship game, you got to win 2.
Right.
Just makes it that much more interesting.
Well, I'm sure there'll be more discussion on all of this here in the coming weeks, of course. But, Middle Dad.
We're getting down to it, guys. We appreciate you tuning in.
That's right. We'll probably do an update sometime this week. And if not, We'll see you next Sunday.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.